right after this with the recorded webinar and links to my upcoming presentations as well. So with all that being said, you should be able to see my screen right now. And again, if there's any technical issues, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat on my screen off to the right. So I'll be able to see if you're not able to hear me or, for whatever reason, something goes on. So let's go ahead and get started. This is our introduction to Priority Matrix. Let us help you reach your full potential today. So what is Priority Matrix? Priority Matrix is a project, email, and priority management software platform that helps teams prevent things from falling through the cracks, become more effective, and get more done. Throughout the duration of the webinar today, I'm going to unpack that statement a whole lot, but that's kind of how we like to sum up Priority Matrix here at Affluence. So what is the Priority Matrix? Let's see. What is the Priority Matrix approach? Here at Affluence, we help all sorts of organizations effectively prioritize their tasks and projects with kind of a special visual approach, allowing you to use the 4-quadrant methodology. A lot of people first notice Priority Matrix simply because of kind of the 4-quadrant layout and a couple other unique views that other solutions don't offer. As many of you know who have probably tested out a lot of project management tools, commonly it kind of comes off as just a huge list of things to get done, which it's definitely important to be able to see your priorities, but something super special about Priority Matrix, again, is the 4-quadrant approach, allowing you to kind of break down your priorities in different groups. And then on top of that, we provide a couple different ways to even further prioritize all of those things that you need to get done with your organization. So another question that we typically get is, who does Priority Matrix support? And I'm going a little bit out of order here, so I'm actually going to circle back to that question in just a moment. But what else is another thing that's really unique about Priority Matrix is, unlike other solutions, we are able to integrate deeply with Microsoft Teams and Outlook 365 while still allowing you to collaborate with external parties. So again, I speak to a lot of people who are currently using Teams, maybe they're using Planner and most definitely Outlook, but a challenge with that is typically collaborating with external parties is not something that's kind of upfront and easy to do with other project and task management solutions. So here at Affluence, we've done our best to most definitely make it easy to collaborate with your teammates and internal people within the organization, but also externally. Maybe it's contractors, clients, you name it. We're going to help you set up that collaboration with the external parties as well. So kind of circling back to this, who does Priority Matrix support? Priority Matrix supports organizations across all sorts of verticals. And the commonality across these organizations that we work with are those who struggle with tracking priorities, emails, and team projects, and who are looking for better visibility, alignment, and organization. So again, with my 6 years here at Affluence, you can imagine that, I've probably talked to thousands of people at this point who are brand new to Priority Matrix. And I've been lucky enough to see a lot of different use cases, a lot of different organizations, different roles such as executives all the way out to contractors using Priority Matrix. But the commonalities across those different organizations, different roles, different types of users they have the similar goal of needing better visibility, better alignment, and overall just kind of better organization and team collaboration. So when we're able to help our users reach those goals, that's when we're able to support such a wide variety of different types of organizations, leaders, and people in different roles. So how can you kind of get started and actually adopt Priority Matrix? The first thing you're going to want to do is install Priority Matrix for the platforms that you're going to want to be using it on. We've done our very best to make Priority Matrix basically available at your convenience, no matter where you're working. So what I mean by that is you can install PM for your Mac, Windows, and mobile. There's an application for all of those. And we also have a web-based version located at prioritymatrix.com. A lot of people ask the question, which is, so I'm using Microsoft Teams on my phone or my iPad. Can I also use the Priority Matrix integration through the Teams mobile app? And the answer is absolutely yes. We have a ton of people doing that. With that being said, we also have a lot of people using Priority Matrix through Teams on their desktop and also integrated through Outlook, again, on mobile and desktop. So I'm going to show you all of those more in just a moment, but the first step is definitely realizing where you would like to start using it. I'm guessing a lot of us here on this webinar today are probably rooted into the Office ecosystem. I know most of us are these days. It's kind of hard to avoid that from happening. So likely a lot of us will integrate it into Teams, and that's actually what we're going to be looking at today. So with all of that being said, I'm hoping that the connection is still good. Hopefully you can all hear me okay, and my hotspot is keeping us going here. So super stoked about that. Don't seem to be running into any issues yet. So hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at kind of the live demo portion of this webinar, which I know is probably what brought a lot of you here today. So thank you for staying tuned. We can expect kind of the demo portion to go for probably, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And then like I promised at the end, we'll do the live Q&A. And I would actually like to hear how you guys are currently using Priority Matrix or what some of your goals look like with the system. So as I mentioned, a lot of our users these days are rooted really deeply into the Office ecosystem. So for that reason, exactly, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that the people who are using Priority Matrix, in addition to Teams, don't have to switch contexts. We didn't want them to have to leave Microsoft Teams and go to a desktop version or go to the web application. We said, let's just put Priority Matrix right into Teams to make it that much easier to get started using it and onboard the rest of the organization. If you haven't already, you can actually just go to apps in your bottom left corner, search for Priority Matrix, and then you're going to see it added to your Teams application. I always like to suggest pinning it open. So even if you continue working through your chats, channels, maybe your calendar, Priority Matrix will stay here for you and be readily available. I've also dragged it all the way up to the top here. Of course, I do that because I'm working in it every single day for the majority of the day, but hopefully a lot of you will find yourself kind of falling into that habit as well. So keep in mind, you can kind of manipulate your Teams toolbar to put Priority Matrix wherever you want it. So what's the overall kind of concept and layout of Priority Matrix? And hopefully, this will look different than other project management tools that you've used because we do pride ourselves on kind of this unique layout and, offering you a different approach than some other solutions you may have previously considered. So just to kind of get you to the screen we're on today, in case maybe you're following along or you'd like to rewatch this and, kind of get started using it, be sure to click on My Projects at the very top. And then what I've done is I've selected this icon here with the 4 quadrants. And this is going to be called your project list. So what happens here with projects is this creates a central space for yourself and your teammates to work together. So rather than creating a new group email with, 100 people CC'd on it, or, definitely rather than creating an Excel spreadsheet or, maybe a new Slack channel, go ahead and create a new Priority Matrix project. And what this project is going to provide is a central space where you're now able to say to everyone on your team, all right, we're doing this new product development, for example. So now everything that we need to get done for this specific project or topic, if you'd like to think of it a little bit differently, everything is going to go within this project. And one thing that my manager told me when I was first brought on to Appluence 6 years ago was, he said, if it's not in Priority Matrix, it doesn't exist. And at the time I was, it was basically my first job out of college. And I was like, that's such a silly thing to say. And I really couldn't relate at all. But now that I've been using the system so heavily for, 5, 6 years, Here at Affluence, we are actually all working remote. So I'm actually in Idaho. We have people in California, North Carolina, all the way out to Europe. A lot of our engineers are actually based in Spain, some in Hong Kong. So we are all over the place. And I'm sure a lot of you here can probably relate to that working from home. It's, definitely become a common thing over the past couple of years. So even if a couple of you are working in the office together, but you still have other employees who are in a different location, it's super important to, again, put everything into priority matrix. So what that allows you to do is give that visibility to those people who are in a different location, maybe not online right now talking about this with you. So what happens is you can basically just create a new task. So we'll just say new task for a webinar, then we'll put a date on it. Once you put this task into this project, everybody who you have shared this project with now has total access and visibility to this task and everything else in here. So what's so special about that is if your management or your teammates simply need to see status updates, you're able to update the progress now. You're able to set deadlines just by going in here and putting a due date. And if you would like to, you can put a start date as well. You can also use the icons to further prioritize the importance of this task. So now what happens is in kind of more of a specific example, if I put this task into this project and my teammates were, or maybe my management was looking at this and thinking, all right, this is actually not a super high priority task for her to work on, we're able to discuss that by simply adding people to this item. And what happens basically when you add people to an item is you're saying that you want them to get notifications. So kind of backtracking a little bit, everybody who's part of this project at this point is able to see and collaborate on everything in here. The second you think to yourself, okay, this person needs notifications, they need to see everything that's happening and every status update that happens, that's when you're going to want to either add them as followers or delegate the task to them. So now I can say, hey, Bella, can you help me with this? Send that comment. And now maybe I say, remind Bella. We'll say, remind Bella in 2 hours. So now what's happened is she's been notified in her home view, which I'll show you all more of in just a minute. I've set this reminder. Maybe I know for sure Bella's in a meeting for the next couple hours, and I just want a gentle reminder to happen when she's available. Set that reminder. And then maybe I want to say remind myself, or it's probably remind me in 3 hours to kind of check back, see if Bella was able to look at this and comment back to me. So a lot of reminders are available. You also have your deadline. You're able to add item notes. So you're able to really kind of break down the tasks that need to get done. Again, this is just up to you. If you don't want to be that detailed in here, that's perfectly fine. We just provided it as an option for you. In terms of resources, you can upload files, link items in different projects, or you can link an external resource of some sort. So essentially, the idea here is looking at this product development project. Again, the idea is basically anything under the sun when it comes to team collaboration that needs to happen. A comment, conversation, a deadline, reprioritizing your tasks in here. Everything can happen in this space. And our goal is to help you eliminate the amount of emails, the amount of meetings, and again, make sure things don't slip through the cracks and better prioritize everything that needs to get done. Really quickly up here, this often draws people's attention. I don't want to spend too much time going through these views, but I'll click through them super quickly because I do think they're important to note. We have kind of more of a standard list view here, which is really powerful when it comes to scoping out your upcoming deadlines and also looking at the progress completed to, again, make sure nothing is being forgotten about or slipping through the cracks. Standard calendar view is next going to be automatically filled out with your deadlines. And then the one that I really wanted to show you all today is the Gantt chart. So this is incredibly popular from our construction companies, project managers, and those of you who are actually in charge of kind of breaking down the duration of the project and making sure the timing is going to work out. We also recently added dependencies. So for those of you who, like myself, kind of like to geek out on those and think they're super helpful, reach out to me at the end of the webinar and I can send you some more resources specifically about the Gantt chart and the dependencies. So again, be sure to write down your questions if you have any about kind of the project view here, about 5 to 10 more minutes, and then I'll circle back and kind of open up the floor for those questions. Before I do that, I want to talk about the Outlook integration. So I actually just spoke with one of our users this morning who is going to be using Priority Matrix to manage his ticketing system. So that's one way you can use the Outlook integration for a shared inbox for, in his case, it was for service desk ticket management. A lot of people do it for invoices, orders, and deliveries, whatever it might be, whatever you need to manage as a team. You're now able to prioritize these emails as well. So typically, before Priority Matrix comes along, I see people flagging emails, or what drives me crazy is when people leave them as unread. Because what happens there, of course, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this, is you still don't really know what you need to get done first and what your highest priority is if you have 200 unread emails. So you're not alone with that problem. I talk to at least 10 people a day for demos, and everybody has that same problem. But the way that Priority Matrix helps is you're now able to grab an email. You can choose the project which you would like to prioritize it into. So let's see, well, we'll do the product development example. Go back to Outlook, product development, here it is. And we'll just say example for webinar, because I promise you I probably used this already today as an example. Choose the quadrant you need to prioritize it into. I'm huge on setting deadlines for my emails, because if you have dozens coming in, you need to have Priority Matrix remind you of when you need to circle back to it. For those of you who spend a lot of your time primarily working through Outlook, responding and reading your emails, keep in mind, once you prioritize this task, you can provide live updates from Outlook now. So, for example, I could assign this task to my teammate Bella. I could update the progress and I could say, I have replied to this user, and then maybe I say, can you follow up from your Gmail in 3 days? Send that comment, due in 3 days, set my deadline. Now what happened is we cut back the need to forward this email. I cut back the question in my mind, which is, did Bella see this email? Does she know she needs to handle it? Because what happens is we've now centralized this into Priority Matrix, into the correct project, and we have our deadline. So here's the example that I just created, the conversation that I started. So again, I can rest assured that we're not going to forget about this client, not going to forget about the email, because it is here in my Priority Matrix, centrally located now. Any questions about the Outlook integration? I would love to circle back to that and tell you more about it. If those of you on this webinar today feel that another webinar specifically about email management would be helpful, please just drop me a comment. I've been thinking about doing that for a while, and I definitely think that it would be relevant, but I would love to hear all of your feedback as well. Just about 2 more things here, and then I promise I'm going to open up the floor for the Q&A. It's tough to decide what I want to show you all in this short span, because of course I don't know any of your use cases, and I don't really know what you're looking for in a solution, so I can't customize this. But I have done my best to kind of pull out the top features that can resonate with most people. So hopefully this is kind of speaking to you and getting your gears turning. I do want to show you what we call our home view. 2 really important things here. Number 1 are going to be your alerts, or in my perspective, I like to think of these as attention needed items. What these represent are new deadlines that have occurred, maybe reminders that have come up, or new comments and tasks delegated to you by your teammates. So for me, probably similar to some of you, we have people working across time zones. My engineers in Europe are basically on the flip side of me. So when I wake up, I go to my alerts and I look through any updates that they've shared with me or any due dates that have occurred. From here, you can kind of click through it to clear your alerts, or a lot of people ask, how do I get rid of my finished items? You can say clear notifications for finished items, or maybe you just, don't really think you need to look through the alerts for the day and you just say clear all notifications. That's definitely, I'm guilty of doing that occasionally. If I just think, hey, I don't need to look through everything, you can just clear it, start over for the day. What I really wanted to show you all is the agenda view here. So what is so special about this agenda? Pretty basic name, but what this is going to do for you, and in my opinion, one of the top two most powerful things that Priority Matrix has is the ability to look across all of your projects. So here at Affluence, we have 300 projects, which might take some of you back, maybe make you gasp a little bit. If you're interested in seeing how I organize all, 300 projects, I would love to connect with you one-on-one and give you some pointers if you feel like your organization might have a high number of projects. We have a lot of things to help you keep those organized. But trying to stay on topic here. So let's say I have 200 projects and I'm like, okay, well, maybe only some of those are relevant to me. What do I need to get done today across all my projects? Agenda is going to show you today, tomorrow, and the next 7 days, wrapping it up with your overdue items. So it's basically your own little personal assistant saying, hey, Erica, here's what you have due today. You'll notice it's actually showing us our introduction webinar here because it's pulling from my Microsoft Teams calendar. If you use it through Teams and log in with your single sign-on, for all of you IT people on the call today, you're able to actually limit your organization and your users to only signing in through single sign-on. Makes it super easy to manage their logins and their accounts. But it is going to show you anything that you have in your Teams calendar. So it basically gives you that high-level overview of everything you have on your plate for the whole day. If you're thinking, okay, well, something recently came up, I need to add a task that's due today, it's automatically going to plug in your deadline. You can prioritize it, add that task, and kind of go about your day. Again, resting assured you won't forget about this. Lastly, promise, and then I'll stop talking and open up the floor to you all. But Priority Matrix is not just your standard project and task management solution. We've looked at kind of some of the special visual approaches that we offer, the email management aspect of it, the idea that it integrates into Teams to help you kind of focus in one platform for your duration of your workday. But lastly, we also support meeting management and helping you have better and more effective meetings. So in this case, I've selected Pablo, who's our CTO. Some of you might be lucky enough to connect with him. He's basically the brains behind the company. In my opinion, he is, at least. Don't tell the other founders I said that, but he does all the technical things. He's your go-to guy if you have, feature requests or whatever it might be. So here, let's pretend I'm getting in a meeting with Pablo, and I want to see all of the shared priorities between myself and him. Again, it goes through all of our shared projects, and it's going to show me only the tasks that him and I are both part of. So maybe he's the owner and I'm a follower, or vice versa. I could be listed as the owner and Pablo is my follower for this item. So now we can have a super quick meeting, go through all of our shared priorities, and continue to create new priorities as well. So maybe we say, hey, Pablo, can we set up a Outlook focused webinar for next week? Send that, and then maybe I say, let's talk about this due Friday at 9 a.m. Trying to fix my typos here. I can prioritize it into the project that it needs to go into. We'll put it under product development again. We'll say do now. And I hit add. You're going to see that what happens is this priority is now added to our shared priority list. So for all of you managers on the call, I've spoken to a lot of people in similar positions as yourself, and a challenge that I see, which is reoccurring, that Priority Matrix can resolve, is the fact that you probably sit in, too many meetings every single day. Maybe it's 5. And after those meetings, your teammates might still not be sure what they need to work on, or they come back to you and say, hey, Tom, what did you ask me to get done on Friday? Can you kind of jog my memory? Definitely not the most effective way to go about the workday. So when you're in these one-on-one meetings, you can again actively create those priorities. So after the fact, everybody's ready to go. People know exactly where they need to get started. And yeah, that's kind of the idea of the one-on-one view. In terms of group meetings, for those of you who are interested in learning about automatically created meeting agendas for a group of people, followed by a follow-up email with meeting minutes, that's also available. Kind of ping me at the end of this webinar because I would love to share that information with you. But try not to take up your whole afternoon here with this webinar. As much as I would love to, I do want to kind of circle back and hopefully answer some of your questions at this point. So, with all that being said, thank you all so much for staying tuned. Also, shout out to my hotspot for supporting us, getting us through this whole webinar. That's pretty amazing. Hopefully, there weren't too many glitches on your side. Let's get back to the PowerPoint. So, with all that being said, I want you all to know once you do kind of get your feet wet and get started with Priority Matrix, we're going to be here for you with ongoing webinars. I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback about what types of webinars I can do to be helpful for you. We have all of our previous webinars and shorter YouTube tutorials listed on our YouTube channel. And for the enterprise accounts, or for those of you who are interested in a high-level deployment, we do have one-on-one and team training sessions available. All right, so with all that being said, again, thank you all so much for staying tuned through the duration of the webinar. At this point, if you have questions, I see one hand is raised already. I'm gonna actually, Asaf, I'm gonna unmute you so you can, well, actually I'm gonna allow your mic and then you can unmute yourself. So I should be able to hear you once you unmute yourself. For anybody else who has questions, please either drop it into the chat box, or use the little hand emoji to raise your hand, and then I'll be able to take you off mute.
Hi.
All right.
This is
Hey,
Nidal.
how are you?
This priority matrix is a full project management software. It has templates where you go from initiation to planning to execution to closeout, and it has those side tools in it, like such as managing the projects, the ease of uh, you know, creating team messages and all of this. And also, besides that, this it creates, if you put it creates the Gantt
Mhm.
based on what does it create the Gantt um, schedule?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So to kind of circle back to the start of your question, yes, we
Yeah,
absolutely do support.
let me complete the question so you understand.
Sure.
If it's let's say you're scheduling construction. I'm not in construction anymore. I'm in engineering, but
Mhm.
let's say construction. Is it enough for you to just put the date of the start and the date of the end, and it populates on the Gantt itself immediately, or you need to put it in a
Mm.
like Microsoft Excel or something, and then bring it in to add it, or
Right.
does it do it? Populates automatically?
Yes. Yeah, so it's going to populate automatically. So we'll do a quick example here. So we'll just say task for Nadal question. We'll make it personalized for you. Oh my gosh, the typos are out of this world today. Okay, so we'll go in there, we'll create the task, and basically all you have to do is click on it, and then on the right-hand side, the item details are going to come up. So you can go in here and you can set your start date. We'll make it super dramatic so it's really easy to see in the Gantt chart, and then we'll say this is going to be due in April. So now when I jump to my Gantt chart here in the top right, you're going to see if I zoom out, we'll go to the month view. Here it is. And you can see that it was automatically added to the Gantt chart.
I see.
If you move this, for example, if you're like, okay, well, this was bumped back, it's gonna
Is it
move
intelligent
it
enough
for.
to realize that one construction task has to come after the other and stuff, or you have to do it yourself? Feed it into the,
I'm sorry, are you talking about dependencies?
yes,
Yeah, so you can basically link items and then you're able to choose the relationship as to how you want that dependency set up. So we do support that as well.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your question.
Yes, if you
I'm
can
sure.
you drop your direct contacts and let's
Yeah,
talk.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the
Or you
question.
can
I'm
email it
gonna
to me if you want. You can email it to me. You have the email,
Perfect.
nidalasaf@mail.com. It's right there, man.
Absolutely.
Where you sent me
Okay.
the invitation. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, I'm gonna disable your mic now. Thank you so much for the question. I'm sure that helped a lot of other people as well. Let's see, keeping an eye over here on the right-hand side to see if any other questions come up. I'm gonna check the chat now. Perfect. So I'm gonna go back to my PowerPoint here. So a couple other common questions to kind of wrap up the webinar today. A lot of people like to ask, okay, what does your kind of testing period look like? You're going to start off with a 2-week trial period with unlimited access to Priority Matrix. You can invite your teammates, you can access all of the training materials, have all the integrations, unlimited functionality during that trial period. We kind of already talked about support. And then in terms of pricing, the price is going to start around $5 per user per month. And that's going to be for kind of the pro license, great entry level license. And then it goes all the way up to an enterprise flat rate pricing for more of a company wide or site wide deployment. And that's typically customized based off of your IT needs, security protocols, any customization we have to do for you that can all come into play with the enterprise license. And then in terms of using Priority Matrix for external collaboration, if this is something that piques your interest, I can send you a webinar about how consultants are using Priority Matrix. That touches really heavily on external collaboration. But yes, absolutely, you can use this with people not in your domain. If we wanted to on this webinar, we could all set up a project and share it with each other. It's not going to be any problems with the system. Before people start dropping off, I'm super excited about an event that I'm hosting next week on, I think it's on, well, let me just pull up my calendar and I'll be able to tell you all. So it's the first time we're ever doing this. It kind of came to mind just out of the blue, but on Tuesday, the 8th at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm hosting a kind of, non-scripted, just group conversation. The idea of that is to come with any questions that you have, any use cases you're looking to brainstorm on. If you would like to come and kind of share your use case with other people, the idea is just to get a group of Priority Matrix users together. I'm going to be there, and also Pablo, who's our CTO. So any technical questions you have, he's also going to be there. And we're basically just going to be sitting around answering questions and just having this awesome open discussion about how we're all using Priority Matrix. I think it would be really fun if we have our webcams on so we can kind of see each other and, hopefully start to build a community of people using Priority Matrix and just kind of learn from each other. So I'm going to send you all that follow-up email with the link to register for it. Again, it's Tuesday the 8th at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I have 4 other webinars scheduled for that week as well. One for how small businesses are using Priority Matrix, and one about templates, recurring tasks, and then another intro. With all of that being said, I can't thank you all enough for joining this introduction. I hope you were able to get some good takeaways. Any feedback you can share with me, what you liked about the webinar, maybe what you think I can improve, or most importantly, topics that would be helpful for you and your team. I would love to hear those and turn those into a customized webinar that I can host for a big group of people again. If there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar today. and stop this recording. But again, thank you all so much